Good morning, Wonderland. Coming to you from a very chilly morning here in the Virginia Piedmont. It's about 28 degrees right now, below freezing. Brr. But the mountains were calling my name today, so I'm on my way there. Not sure what I'll talk about photographically today, so set your expectations low. But most everything on my agenda today is new to me, so should be an interesting day. Let's see how it goes. Got some ice down there. Not real thick. And it turns into water over there, so not too bad. I'm starting my day at the James River State Park on my way to the mountains. And I think that this is a fairly new park to the Virginia State Park system, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly new to me. I've never been here, so I'm going to do a couple little trails here. Apparently the highlight of the park is the Tye River Overlook. I guess we're near the confluence of the Tye and the James Rivers. So that's supposed to be a neat spot. That'll be next on my agenda. But first I've started out at the Green Hill Pond, I think it's called. Pretty small little pond with a trail around it. So I've already seen some birds, and I've brought my new gimbal. I'm rocking the R5 right now, as I kind of expect more scenic than wildlife today. But if I can find a spot where I see some birds, I'll set up the gimbal with the 100 to 500 and see if I can get anything. So, okay, we walk. No luck at the pond. I saw some little birds flitting about, but they kept their distance, so I don't want to spend too much time waiting around. That's probably my problem. I feel like when I go out for wildlife and birds, I don't get as many as some of my YouTube heroes like Brent Hall, Simon d'Entremont. Those guys know what they're doing. I got to get better at that. And it's probably just about patience, you know. I'm usually, when I'm on these wanders, I'm kind of hit and running a lot of places at once on one trip. And that's probably my downfall. I need to just pick one place, stick with it, find a good location, and stay there for a while. Let the birds get used to me and come. And I've never tried like camouflaging my lens, which you can see back there. Or wearing a ghillie suit, anything like that. I don't know if that stuff helps. I don't mind looking silly. Maybe I'll try that sometime. But I think patience is the main thing. And I've got patience. I just usually want to hit new locations when I'm out and about, especially when I've come this far. This is about an hour and a half from home right now. And I have further to go, so that's always in the back of my mind. But anyway, now I'm on the trail that leads towards the Tye River Overlook, which is supposed to be the star attraction of this park, so we'll see. Oh, one notable wildlife thing, on the drive into this park, I spotted a skunk. I was driving, so I wasn't set to photograph him, but that was cool. Wouldn't want to get that close either. Okay, onward. I have arrived at the confluence of the Tye and James Rivers, the Tye River Overlook, and I haven't seen it yet, so let's do this together. Okay, coming around the corner here. Let me flip around. All right, it's been a nice little trail. And apparently this is a little unusual because most river confluences are more of a Y. This one is really a T. So straight ahead, that's the Tye, and it joins down here the James. That is pretty. Very nice indeed. We'll get some shots here for sure. Now, tidbit of history, of course. In 1969, Hurricane Camille flooded this area so badly that the Tye River was overflowing, and it dumped into the James so much water that the James flowed backwards for 8 miles from this spot for a day or two. And that's cool. Okay, photos. All right, so with the R5 and the 15-35, I'm a little framed here because I've got these trees on either side. I kind of like that compositionally. Obviously the tie flowing off into the distance is nice. There's mountains in the background there. That's cool. But with the 15-35, 15 is going to be pretty wide. And with shadows and light, I think I will do some HDR here just to make sure I capture all that tonal detail. But I think not a real wide panorama, but a shortish panorama also would be nice here. So I'll do both. So let me start with the HDR stuff. Show you what that looks like. I will do 15 for a start. Millimeters, that is. I'm at f8. I'm at ISO 200. I'm going to go to 100. And I'm at 1/160th of a second here. Chimp briefly. I think I'll actually go up to f10 or 11. I'm going to do 11, but I'm going to crank the ISO to 200 for that. All right. And of course on the R5, you're hearing my shutter because it can't do brackets in electronic shutter mode like the R7 can, which is weird. You'd think they could fix that in firmware. All right, so that was 15. I'm going to do, just so I've got the trees just creeping in at the edge of the frame, I'm going to do a couple at a slightly wider. I'm at about 21, it looks like. Same exposure settings, like that. I do want to use my longer lens and get the bridge and the tie and the distance. I'll do that too. But for now, panorama. When you're doing panorama, I'm going to set it to about 24. Too wide of a setting on panorama doesn't work very well. In fact, I'm going to do 28. So the trick to panorama, of course, is to keep your focus and exposure the same throughout however many shots you take. I always do it in portrait and then just kind of sweep across, making sure that I've got something in the frame that I know the software can grab onto to stitch together later. So I'm going to kind of lean over a little bit, make sure my settings are good. I am at ISO 200. I'm going to do f11 again. About 1/80th looks to be good. That'll give me enough. 1/60th. I'm going to do 1/60th. That'll give me enough detail in the shadows that I can pull it back up but not blow out these highlights too much. I should probably put on my polarizer too, but I won't worry about that yet. And then I always turn on the leveling feature in the viewfinder here. So I'm using that to make sure I'm sweeping across levelly. And I'm going to do another one just because I want to make sure I was focused properly out there. Down a little more too. And I try to keep in mind to make at least one or two of the frames that are part of the panorama useful in their own right. So from a composition perspective, it's kind of neat with the church and barn and stuff over there. So yeah, let me throw on the long lens and I'll show you what that looks like too. I should note I'm trying to travel a little lighter today to save my back. So this and the 15-35 are the only big lenses that I brought. Otherwise I have some primes, the 35, the 50, and the 16. So when I actually go up in the mountains, I think I'm going to limit myself to just this for wildlife and the primes for everything else. See how that works out. Oh yeah, nice bridge, okay. The reflection in the water from the bridge helps too. And here I'm at about 200 millimeters. Same settings as the panorama, but I'm not doing a panorama on this one. See, at 100, that's kind of nice too. I'm going to raise my shutter speed a bit to get more of the sky. which is not that interesting. I picked today, this weekend, to go out because it's going to be cloudy. It's not really yet, but I think the clouds will build later. But can I get those mountains back there? 100 is just a little too long for that. But we'll see what that looks like. Okay. Nice spot. I do see why this is the big attraction of this park. There's some cows over there too. Okay, onward. While I'm heading back to the car, I thought I'd do a little walk and talk here. So I've been meaning to do a video about how I set up my cameras, configuration-wise. And someday, maybe someday soon, I'll do a proper video about that. But I can talk about a few things here and there today, maybe. So probably the main thing that I set up my cameras with, that maybe a lot of people don't, is back button autofocus. And on the mirrorless cameras, the Canon R cameras, I actually set up dual back button autofocus. And what do I mean by that? So start with what back button autofocus is. When you get a camera, you take it out of the box. By default, it's set up so the shutter button engages both autofocus and metering at a half press. And then full press actually takes the photo. We all know that, right? Of course. What back button autofocus does is take that autofocus function off of the shutter button and put it instead on a button on the back of the camera. Hence the name. And the benefits of that, I think, are many. Maybe not as important now that these cameras can focus on anything anywhere in the frame at any time. But it lets you set your focus on one point and then leave the focus alone while you recompose the shot or meter elsewhere. Does that make sense? So say you're shooting a subject that's in shade and the background is bright, and if you meter on the subject, you'll overexpose and blow out the background too much to recover any detail. So what I would want to do in that situation is focus on the subject, but meter more for the background. So back button autofocus lets you lock the focus where you want it, meter somewhere else, and then take the shot. With the R cameras, like I said, I do dual back button autofocus. So I have one button set up for spot autofocus, where I can move the focus point where I want it using the joystick or the touchscreen, trigger the autofocus to lock in on that point, and then recompose and shoot. That's kind of how it was in the old days. But with tracking, I have another button set to engage eye autofocus and tracking servo. So if I'm shooting wildlife or a bird or a person, I can hold that button down and it'll follow their eye while I compose and shoot. So yeah, highly recommend that setup. It's the only real drawback to me is that when I hand the camera to somebody else to use, they don't know how to use that because, most people don't. So in that case, I kind of set one of my custom modes to what I call a dummy mode. No offense. So that I can set it to that if I hand it to somebody to take a picture of me and the family with my camera. Then it works normally, quote unquote, where the shutter button does everything. So yeah, I'll try to throw up, hopefully I threw up some screenshots in there to show you how to configure that in case you want to, but I highly recommend it. Kind of changed the game for me back in the DSLR days, and still useful today. So there's a tip. Okay, getting back to the car and then on to our next destination. What is it? You're gonna have to wait and see. Patience, people, patience. Okay. I'm warming up, by the way, which is good, but the mountains will be colder. So let's get there. This one gets a wow. I am at Statons Creek Falls, which I thought was along the Blue Ridge Parkway, but it's not. It was down this really winding, narrow mountain road, but talk about worth it. Check this out. I'm at the top right now. If I could flip around, there we go. This is Statons Creek. Icy, flowing, very nice. This looks like a nice spot for wading or swimming if it wasn't freezing out. But then you get the falls here. This is the very top. Angle down a little. And it keeps on going over that ledge over there too. So I'm going to try to make my way very carefully down there and see what it looks like from the bottom. But yeah, worth the drive, definitely. Get some pictures here. Definitely watching my step here. This is all ice along the trail, really. It's supposed to go down here. And down there on the rocks, lots of ice. So I'm having to pick my way along this little side trail, kinda. But the view's gonna be worth it. Look at that, that's so nice. Gorgeous. Tell you what, hope you can hear me okay. This fall is right along the road here, so not a hike really. So I kind of only expected to be here for a few minutes, but it's so complex and picturesque, different levels. It's beautiful. I think this is definitely going to be one of my favorite spots. Not that I'll make it here much because it's so out of the way, but look at this horsetail down here. That's just amazing. Very nice discovery. And it keeps going down there too. With the ice on the logs and the rocks, which is making this really treacherous. So I'm having to be very careful. Great spot. Thumbs up. Go Mother Nature. I've seen photos of this spot in the fall with the trees ablaze with color, and I think that would be the real time to shoot this. This is interesting. It's a neat scene, but obviously the color is pretty uncolorful. So with the green moss on these ties, the orange leaves, that would be amazing. So this is a spot I'll have to come back to. But I do like this over here, the bridge that I was shooting. The trail actually walks across it and then goes up the hill to Wigwam Falls, which is where I'm going now. Neat spot though. I love these little discoveries. Alright. This is nice. Wigwam Falls up ahead here. Not a big one. Not real big. Pretty tall. Not a whole lot of flow. Like in this walkway. Big rocks. Very nice. It's got the sun behind it, which might make for some sun stars. Give that a try. The ice is nice. And down there's where I started. Alright, let's do some shooting. Nice spot indeed. So, I had a comment from a new subscriber recently. We had a little conversation in comments. Welcome, new subscribers. But we were talking about lenses and lens choices and kind of where the holy trinity of lenses comes from, right? So 15 to 35 ultra wide is part of that trinity. And if you think in terms of storytelling, your ultra wide sets the scene, right? That's your establishing shots. So like here, I'm looking around. Sorry, I'm facing the wrong way, but I've got a big rock in the foreground. The falls coming down the rock face up the cliff there. Ice and stuff. The sun over there, which again might give me a good sun star. So that's kind of my setting the scene, but it's cluttered. There's a lot here. So then the next challenge is what can I focus in on to remove some of those distractions and tell a more concise or more detailed picture. And then that's what your 24 to 70 is for. And then if you want to really focus in and tell the story of some tiny details, that's what your longer lens. Typically the 70 to 200. I've got the 100 to 500, which is a step beyond, of course. But yeah, I don't have a 24 to 70, but I do have my 50 prime. So I think I'll throw that on and see what I can get for some focused in storytelling shots. And then I'll throw on the 100 to 500 and see what details I can get. This might not be the most interesting place, the most interesting story to tell, but anywhere you go, there's a story to tell. So that's what we're here for. Okay, see what we can get. Okay, I've made it towards the top of the falls. I'm like 2/3 of the way up. I guess I'll go up to the top just to say I did. But this view is nice at the a little more than the midpoint. I'm loving all the colors. I'm loving the trickles. I'm really liking this tree stump on the rock. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to switch. I've shot some with the ultra wide. I'm going to switch to the 50 to tell that tree stump's story. Let's see how that looks. So it turns out there's an upper falls. Pretty sure this is as high as it goes, but I'm not going to go further to find out. This has been a nice stop. It goes all the way down yonder. Which means I do have to go all the way down yonder too. So, let's do that. It's lunchtime actually. When I get back to the car, I brought myself a sandwich, a drink, a salad. Should be a good lunch. And then I think one more stop. Yeah, I'm not quite ready to pack it in yet. Plenty of daylight left. Okay, pick my way back down the hill, lunch, and onward. Actually, more walking and talking while I make my way down the hill. One more camera tip. So, one of the awesome things about the new mirrorless cameras is the information that you can get in the electronic viewfinder, like exposure simulation, magnifying what you're looking at to ensure you're nailing focus. And that's a good one to set to a button on the back of the camera as well. The R5 has a magnify button, the R7 doesn't. So I set it to one direction of the 4-way controller on the R7. So yeah, that's a good way to, especially if you're focusing manually, or you just want to spot check, make sure you're getting tack sharp focus. It's a good way to do it. You can magnify once or twice. I think it's 5x and 10x. Gets pretty jittery at 10x depending on your focal length, but still useful with IBIS and everything. Helps with that. But what I was going to say, you can have a level in your viewfinder. So both tilt and up and down. And I highly recommend turning that on. So I kind of have a rule of thumb that in, I'd say 9 out of 10 shots, there are exceptions to every rule, of course, but 9 out of 10 times, you're going to want something vertical in your frame or something horizontal. And if you're looking at the horizon, you definitely want the horizon to be level. You can fix that in post, but if you can get it right in camera, then you're not tossing out any pixels, right? That's how I look at it. So generally speaking, I mean, if you're shooting architecture, you're trying to go for like a Dutch tilt kind of thing, or if you're shooting a structure that, due to perspective, you've got to tilt one way or another to make it look rectilinear, that's one thing. But generally speaking, especially for landscape photography, you want level. The trees tend to grow straight up. It's called gravitropism, kids. I did a science experiment on that once. Yeah, so trees, you know, except for the ones that have blown over or grown funny, they're generally going to be vertical if you get your horizon vertical or level. So to look natural, I recommend turning on your level and using it as much as you can. There you go.
So this is the road to Crabtree Meadows. Not recommended for vehicles, 4-wheel drive only. I do have all-wheel drive. Hopefully that's enough. Reviews said it's not bad. There's a couple of stream crossings, which I think is the main issue. But there should be shallow. We haven't had that much rain lately. We'll see. Exploring adventure. Yeah.
Was a fun drive. Slow road, very narrow, especially in places where it drops off to the side. So luckily I passed no oncoming traffic. I hope it's the same on the way out. Although I think this area gets not busy, but busier in the warmer months of the year. So I'm sure people pass each other all the time. But anyway, I've arrived at the Crabtree Meadows parking area. And this, I've been to Crabtree Falls before, but always from the lower trailhead, never from the upper. And this is the upper trailhead, so flip around here. So yeah, I've been to that parking area up there, but never down to this one, which is where I am now. So I'm going to hike, I think, at least to that 1.2 mile point, maybe to the 2.5. This is a falls that has a series of cascades, and the lower ones are certainly impressive. I'm not sure about the upper ones, so find out. See how it goes. This will be my longest hike of the day, I think. So after this, I'll most likely be ready to pack it in and head home. But it's been a good day so far. Let's see what we can see. watching my step for the ice. So I found a neat little spot with falls along, I guess this is Crabtree Creek. I'm not sure about that. Good question. And this is, compared to the main falls, this is nothing, but it's pretty. Very picturesque. So what I'm framing up here, got these kind of steps of water coming down. Up there you can't see, but there's a fallen fallen tree that's pretty decomposed. So that's some neat texture. And I'm thinking here, since I'm in the shade, I can really drag my shutter. I'm trying to go for, what do I have here? 1/5 of a second. I would go longer if I could, but I'm at f/16 on the 50mm at ISO 50. I don't really want to go above f/16 for diffraction. Yeah, loss of sharpness with that, which is not terrible, but you know. But yeah, I'm thinking where this water's coming down and swirling a bit, that might make for some interesting effects with the water. So we'll give it a try. And I'm focusing not all the way back to the log, but about halfway between me and there. And since I'm at f/16, I think that should work pretty well. Of course, this 50mm is not stabilized, but with the IBIS, I think that should work. All right, we continue. Here at Crabtree Falls, they like to warn you that multiple people have died here from climbing on the rocks. Which, okay, I just climbed on the rocks a little bit. But I made sure to pick dry ones. Okay, I've arrived at the first observation point, which I have not yet seen. So again, let's do that together. But I think, yeah, after this, I'll get some shots here and then I'll turn around. I don't want to stretch this hike out too much. I've done enough today. Hell of it is, I've done this hike several times, been to Crabtree Falls. But I have yet to do the whole trail from one end to the other because it's one way. It's pretty long. If you start at the top, it's downhill. If you start at the bottom, it's uphill, but either way, it's kind of a long walk to do all at once and then turn around and do back. So, still be a stretch of this trail that I've never done. Ooh, I think I like what I'm seeing here. Let's see. So we're at the top of the main big falls, which is rushing over and dropping down over there. I'm sure stupid people have climbed down there. I don't think I would do that even on a day with no ice. So I certainly won't be doing it today. But this is a nice view over here too. There's some ice down there. And it's coming down from where I just was. Yeah. There is a little trail that goes down over here. Let's see what that is. Note the ice, which I will studiously avoid. Kind of muddy. Stony. Oh. Well, this is cool looking. Oh yeah, that's a view. Definitely some pictures to take here. Even if it is winter and kind of ugly. Okay, let's do it. I like this part. All right. Making my way back to the car. It's a little more uphill at the moment. And I'm getting tired, which means it's been a good day. I think I got some good shots. Some days you go out and you're like, I don't know if I got anything really good today. But today, just by virtue of the places that I went and discovered, I think I got some good stuff, which you've probably already seen. So I hope you agree. In the meantime, one more camera tip while I'm walking and talking. Squelching through the mud. When I got my first mirrorless camera, which was the R6, I wanted it to behave like a DSLR, so that when I look through the viewfinder, I see something. And the rear screen only comes into play if I want to do a different angle, chimp what I just took, that sort of thing. But yeah, that wasn't really how it worked. By default, it would be on the rear screen until you put it up to your eye, and then the little sensor by the viewfinder would switch the screen to that view. And I didn't really like that. And it felt like it was wasting battery, because hanging on my side, I could see the screen flipping on and off when that sensor was triggered. So, kind of decided then that I wouldn't use the rear screen too much, which is why I tend to keep it folded in, or flipped in, for protection too. But yeah, so I set the camera to default to the viewfinder, and if I open the screen and want to use that, I set another rear button to switch back and forth. So, as I'm out of breath, long way to say, if you want to try that, I recommend it. Okay, let me trudge onward and catch my breath. I think, and I hope, I'm getting close to the car. So, before the light fades anymore, I will bid you a fond adieu. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. I'm thrilled to have a small and growing audience. I'm thrilled to get comments. So if you have any thoughts or questions on anything gear related or any of the tips that I mentioned today, feel free to drop me a line. And until next time, be kind to yourself. You thought I was done, didn't you? Well, to be honest, so did I. But I decided to stretch out the drive home a little bit. And I've stopped. First, I visited some friendly cows. They were nice. Then I stopped at an overlook along the Blue Ridge Parkway and got some drone photos. I got a new drone, by the way. The DJI replacement was pretty quick. A little more pricey than I had hoped, but I have a new drone. So, of course, I forgot to put a memory card in it. So I can only use its internal storage today. So I've just took some photos rather than video. And I want to get some here too. I am at Raven's Roost Overlook, which is my favorite overlook on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It is home to, let me flip around here, the most photographed tree on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is this one. And I know what kind it is, but now I forget, which I guess means I don't know what kind it is. But I'll look it up and post it. But it's been here a long time. Lots and lots of people take photos of it because it's pretty neat how it's growing up out of the rocks on this cliff top, basically. And it's just a neat tree. So since I'm here, not too far from sunset, you can see the sun up there, I will get some photos. And then I'll throw the drone up real quick too and I'll see if I can get any video if I have enough space on the internal storage. It's not a lot, so maybe not, but some photos at least. It's a little breezy. It's not bad. It's cooling off though. It's in the 40s again. It got up to 50 something today, I think, even in the mountains, which I figured the mountains would be colder. So I got warm, but now it's cool enough. And I'm on top of a cliff here, so it's breezy and cool. So yeah, this will be the end. So let me show you some pictures and video, and then I'll say goodbye again. Okay, now I can call it a video. So, hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks again for watching and liking and subscribing. Yeah, till next time. Be kind to yourself, take care of each other. Don't forget to be awesome. Get out and wander. Till next time.